Don't let the system beat you down. You want your kids, you go through hell, fire, and brimstone for your kids. And whatever your ex, the baby mama doing, you don't worry about it.
Awesome, man. So yeah, let's jump in. If you want to introduce yourself and then let us know a little bit about your story.
My name is Jake. I'm a well, technically not a single dad. I'm married again, but I'm a dad that had one custody of my kids, and so I'm a chronic pain patient as well. So I had my kids and I raised them, but also they saw me go through multiple different surgeries, and you know, my son is my oldest. He's the one that really saw it all. And really remembers it. My girls, they don't remember as much. But my son and my middle child are from my ex. And so what happened there is I found out, because I used to work corrections. I worked a lot. I was trying to do everything I could to provide for family. And she was just on the internet all the time. And then I found out that she met this guy. And what started everything is I came home. My house was trashed. I'm sitting there scared to death. Like, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. Accident. And I got a call from her family the next day saying that the kids were there, but she went to up north in Indy, and she dropped the kids off at her grandma's. DCS got involved, and she pretty much made me out to be the devil.
But she did all of this. She dropped her kids off at her grandma's, went to go to this guy's house, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And stayed with him, or just went there for the day or the night.
Oh, she stayed.
Yeah, but then made you look
back.
like the bad guy with DCY.
Yeah. Yeah. And
wow.
She tried to, say all sorts of stuff, like she trashed the house. And I came home from work.
Right. Oh, she tried to say you did it?
I don't know if what she was trying to do, and I don't know if she had people come in or told them, hey, free reign, I'm out, I'm gone. Because we did live in a bad part of, Indy. I mean, housing was cheap, but the neighborhood was rough. And when that happened, it was in December, and we actually had snow, and she didn't pay the bills, apparently, because I gave her the money to go pay, and she just took the money, dropped off the kids at her family members, and never came back. And DCS, like I said, got involved, and she painted me out to be this villain and said all the classics. He's verbally abused, all these different things. And so, I know these people will always hear, nope, I didn't touch her. I never did this. She's lying. And so I knew that whatever I said, they're not going to hear. And so I just sort of like, I'm going to have to prove my innocence.
And that's what's crazy, right? That's exactly it. You have to prove that you're not guilty. It's not the other way around, which sucks for guys.
Yeah. And so they were like, well, we're going to have you do parenting classes. We're going to have you do anger management classes. They were having me jump through so many different hoops. And I did it. I did they even said, well, you're going to have supervised visitation. Did that. There'd be times I would go and, I'd get a call, we're not coming. I've been there, and I'm like, so I'm here, but all those times that those things happened, I kept
Yep.
notes, and so did the courts. And multiple times we had to go to court so many different times because she showed her colors.
Yeah.
And I filed for divorce, because I'm like, no, there's no fixing this. And I filed for divorce. I was uh, I did the anger management classes, and trust me, I was very angry. The anger management class was probably a little bit of a blessing because at that time, I I was so mad. Like, I was mad at the world. I didn't care
But the funny
what the
thing is,
world.
it's not like you needed anger management before all of this. It's because this situation happened. Of course, you're angry. So, I mean,
Yep,
I guess at the end of it, it's good that they made you take the classes, but they weren't making you take the classes for you being
because I
angry.
was angry
Right, right.
beforehand.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, nothing. And here's the thing: I was with this girl since I was 14.
Oh, wow.
Like, we were high school sweethearts, all of it. And you know, um, and we grew up, and I thought we were good, but like I said, I was working a lot. I mean, was working all the time, just trying to make as much money as I can for us, so we could you know get somewhere better and be more sound. And she just all that hard work. She took the money and bounced.
Now, did she took the kids? I mean, I know she dropped the kids off at the grandma's house, but she eventually then took the kids and stayed up with the guy that she was with, or
Nope,
what happened?
she stayed there. The um she stayed with the guy, and the DCS gave the grandma like temporary
Oh, no
custody.
way.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So she didn't even get, and so I kept fighting and doing all of it, and I ended up meeting my wife now during this time. That's right there's awesome story. But she I, when and let me back up just a tad bit though. This is how my family told me. They were like, do not marry her, please do not. And I wish I would have listened. I was young, I was just a kid, I was dumb. But when I told my mom we're getting divorced, you would have thought I told her I just won the lottery.
She really didn't like it that much.
She was so happy. She was like, I got you. We will get through this. And like all the people that were close to me, and they rallied around me. And it was happy to see who actually were my friends and who wasn't, because yeah. And as I was fighting for custody, um, she her family and people would message me and say, "You're never getting the kids. You won't get these kids." What ended up happening is I had to do a jump and check all the hoops. And so I got a new place. It was, everything. And because I couldn't stay there, just remember, I just couldn't. I would not, no. And trashed everything. So there was a lot of things that were just lost. Either they were stolen or just destroyed because of her. Like, she made sure I practically had nothing. And so I had to essentially rebuild from scratch. And the DCS people saw that and saw that I was just getting everything for my kids, making a home for the kids, and doing it. And you know, it started with supervised visitation. And I'm telling you, there's nothing more for guys. There is not more demeaning than some person that you don't know just sitting in a corner writing everything down. Yeah. You want to ask, hey, how, is everything okay? Are you eating? And you can't, and they're like, you can't talk about that. I'm like, I want to know how my kid's
Right. When you're
doing.
sitting with your kids. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to make, I don't want to be like just bringing a Happy Meal and that's the only food they had for that. And like it was so demeaning and just dehumanizing. And it is not for guys. The system it
Not at
is
all.
not
Right.
built for
I
us.
I keep hearing the same exact story, and the funny thing is, like, even with the court system and you having supervised visits and you trying having to prove your innocence, they're claiming that you're guilty right up front. You know,
Mm-hmm.
all the stories are the same. I mean, I went through that too. I didn't go. She tried to get me on supervised visits, but luckily, I didn't have to. But the same exact thing, I had to prove that I was this good guy. And it's like, I've raised my kids, for 8 years. And then now I'm a terrible dad. Like, just because we broke up, like, the courts see the pattern. They see that this happens all the time. So it's just messed up that they put people through this. It just makes no sense because they know what's happening. They know what's going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because and then it got to a point where I didn't get where I got unsupervised visits. Then it would be they would come to the new place, um, and they would be there for a few hours. Excuse me. And then it went to overnights. And um, but when it at the end of it though, I mean, it was like they gave her so many chances.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big things was, you know, this new guy, he had a criminal history. And I had no criminal history. Um I worked in corrections at uh and so they were like, well, we need, if the kids were to go to them, they wanted this guy to,
Of course.
get the background,
Yeah.
and they were not having it. She would, nope, they refused, and they gave her so many different chances, and to me, I felt like if I didn't do and jump and be like, how high do you want me to jump, and then jump higher than what they asked. I felt like that they were just going, you're doing. But her, I mean, she cussed these DCS people out, and the lawyer that I got um, was practically like she treated him horribly, and he was like, I'm halfway tempted to do this pro bono because how much he just did not. And he was like, why did you date? Why were you with her? How in the world could you? It was like, how? I'm like, I was dumb. I wasn't thinking with the right head. But when it came down to it, I got the unsupervised. I ended up getting um the 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 overnights, and then I'm with my wife at the time. She was my girlfriend. And they were like, "Well, she needs to submit to a background. Let's do it right then and there."
Yeah.
She's
Yep.
like, "No, I have no problem with it." And my wife was with me during this, and and I wasn't looking for a girl. I really wasn't. I was, I was with that same girl for since I was 14. So I was kind of sowing my wild oats. I was not planning on nothing, and then I met her, and so we had to go to court. It took over a year. We had to go to court 4 different times. I actually the divorce process. I got divorced to her during all that, and that went a heck of a lot smoother than her getting DCS involved in our lives.
Yeah, well, it's crazy that it took this long because it's not like she has the kids. Her
Oh,
mother has the kids, so it's just like it's so weird how it took that long.
oh, the they were giving her every opportunity, like to have the kids, and she just kept failing and proving that she was not she wasn't willing to play ball or do anything. Because pretty much what she did was she essentially abandoned them at her grandma's.
Yeah, how did the kids take it? Like how did they take it back then?
Um, they were they kind of, and here's the thing is, I guess the kids knew that this was mom's friend,
Yep.
and they didn't say anything to me because they were like, my oldest was I think 7
Yeah.
or 8, and like they wouldn't say, "Hey, it's a guy." It was like, "No, we went to mom's friend," and I'm like, "Okay." And then whenever I would ask, "Who's this friend?" and my ex would be, "Oh, you're being insecure, blah blah blah. It's just a girl," and then find out it wasn't. It's just some dude. Um, and it just it broke my heart. I had to mourn that relationship, like, but I the mourning process that kind of that went quickly because that love that I had for her turned into hate.
Absolutely. I mean, knowing someone since you were 14 years old, that's more than just a relationship. Like you guys are, that you've known each other most of your lives. It's
Yeah,
so that's
she
tough.
was like the um, you know, it was kind of just like I still have trust issues.
And that's the big one when you said that that when you asked, oh, is it a guy or a girl, like who's mommy's friend and stuff like that. Um, it just always seems like it turns out that way. Oh, you have trust issues. Why can't you trust me? Blah blah blah. Then come to find out they were fucking around, and it's like, how are you ever supposed to gain that trust? And I don't think any guy gets that trust back. Once that's gone, even in your marriage now, you will question if she was ever to do something. You would be like, no, no, no. What's going on?
My wife now knows that if I were to find out that some infidelity happened, done, done. I'm out. My kids are practically grown now. I'd be gone. I'd be out of state. I would be a hermit basically. Um, but you know, good thing is my wife and I, she's a God fearing woman. She's actually a preacher's kid. Like,
That's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you picked,
yeah,
you got a good one.
when they found out, like my mom found out that she was a preacher's kid, she was like, "How'd you pull this one off?"
Yeah. Now, do you have full custody of your kids?
Yeah. So, um, when it all everything got settled, the courts awarded me full sole custody of my kids. And here's the things that I absolutely love. So, guys, this is what will happen. If you win full sole custody, the DCS person was there from the start, treated me like hot garbage, right? Um, During the sign out process, she knew she screwed up. She knew she screwed up because then she was, trying to be as friendly, as nice, and all that. I told her, I said, listen, you treated me, and I let her have a piece of my mind. Once the paper was
Absolutely.
signed, I got the and everything signed
Right.
out. I said, I'm
Right.
gonna tell you
They can't
something.
take it back.
I said, I'm gonna tell you something. I will never forget you. You will forget me. I will never forget you. And I told her, I said, you treated me like hot garbage. You, in your mind, I was guilty before you even, I got the chance. You did everything you could to prevent my kids from being with me.
Yep.
And I told her, I said, all I'm looking for from you is an apology.
Yeah. Hopefully that changes her perspective on how she goes about her future cases because
I hope it did,
yeah, those are
because
powerful
she was
words right
like, she knew, and she said, you're right. She was like, I'm not going to try to, she was like, you're right. I did treat you wrong. I did already have an opinion of you before, you know, anything got started. She was like, I'm sorry. She was like, I am sincerely sorry. And I don't know if she was sincere, but I do know that once I got custody of the kids, she was, I ran into her a couple of times. She walked up to me with none but respect and
now.
said, asked how the kids were. And I said, they're good. Everything is good. They're got everything they will ever need and want and much more. Um, and I, when I'll never forget it. The night that I got custody of the kids, I got phone calls from uh, her family saying, "I'm sorry, don't keep the kids from us. We had to back her."
Yeah, isn't that funny
Um,
too? They were sitting there saying, "You'll never see these kids. You'll never have
yeah,
these kids." But then when you get full custody, then we just want to see them. Yeah,
yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it was a very vindicating feeling to have these people say, was like, we're sorry. We shouldn't have treated you the way you did. I mean, I'll never forget during that Christmas, right? I had a bunch of presents I wanted to give them. And, they were like, if you show up, they kept telling me, if you show up, uh, we'll call the cops because, technically there's a no contact order. You're not supposed to blah, blah, blah. And had them calling and all that. And one of the things that they're like, the people that had custody of the kids at the time, uh, grandma, was like, come by, it's Christmas, just gonna be for a second, you got presents, give it to them, those sorts of things. Yeah, and I'll never forget that Christmas.
yeah. It
Yeah,
must be
but
so confusing for the kids. Just the whole process. I mean, and they're young back then too, so they probably didn't really understand what was going on. And yeah, to not have their dad in their life, to not have their mom in their life, and they have the grandparents, and then they can't see one. They can't see you, they can't see their mom. It's like it's just such a strange. I wonder what
it
they
was,
felt
oh
like.
yeah, like I talked to the kids, they asked me questions, and that I told them the truth. I'm like, this is what happened, this is why I didn't see you for almost a year. Yeah, it was about a year. Yeah, it was a year. Um, that I didn't like be able to do all this stuff that I would have wanted to do, and it took a year for me to get physical sole custody. Um, but then here's a little bit of a kicker though. But when I got custody, they told her, you're gonna have to pay child support,
Yeah,
and she tried every trick in the book possibly. She stopped working
yep,
to where she didn't have income, technically, and so I had to call the prosecutor's office, I know exactly what would have happened. If it would have been her that got, I would have been raked through the coals
Oh, they'd
on
throw you in jail.
fire.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'd be
Yep.
in jail.
Yep.
If I didn't pay, and it was, but oh my gosh, she was. I told her, I was like, because she still did. I when I got custody, she still had to have supervised visitation,
Mm.
and because I told through the courts, even though that DCS case was over, um, on the I told him like I am not comfortable. It needs to be supervised. When I feel comfortable, that's when, because there were things that I didn't know. I didn't know where she was. I wasn't about to let her, because my fear was if I let unsupervised visitation happen, she would have took the kids and bounced.
Does she see the kids now, like anytime during the week, or what's the schedule look like?
So what happened was this, because my two oldest are 18. They're over 18 now. Yeah. So this is what happened. And this was the crazy part, is when I got sole custody and she got put on child support, she didn't see them at all. For she and that was her. I tried because the kids wanted to see their mom, but she was doing whatever she was doing. Like there would be times that I would there it would be uh we would have this meeting time, never show up. And so, and that was the hard part, is, and it still breaks my heart. Um, Even thinking about it, because my kids didn't deserve that. They they did not deserve their mom to just bounce. And like let me back. Here's something that's gonna be crazy. Is one of the reasons why I think, um, because she stopped fighting to get custody, and reason why is, um, and she got pregnant,
Mm.
and if DCS would have still been involved, if she would have gave birth, they would have took that kid.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So they, so she practically stopped. She was like, give him whatever he wants. So pretty much like I said, they gave her so many times and opportunities to get custody. All she had to do was to put in a minimal effort, and
Right.
she would have probably got custody.
Yep.
I had to put in 110%.
Right. Going through all the hoops. Right. And I mean, good for you for finally getting it. But yeah, it sucks to go down
And I
that road.
finally got it. But, yeah, she got pregnant and she wanted it closed quickly because she didn't want to, that. And I was fine with that. I was like, that's on you. I just want my kids, and I got my kids. And the it took years for her to even start paying child support, and that was only because I called the prosecutor's office.
Right. Well, and the shitty thing too is it's probably built up with back child support.
Yeah, she, like, what she was pretty much doing was foregoing her tax check,
And it was just going to you, right?
and it would have
Yeah.
came directly to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's pretty much what she did. What she was trying to do is to forego the tax check, and boom. Here's a little bit of what I owe, but she would have owed. Um, and it would have, and thing was, is for about 4 years, um, like she started steadily seeing the kids as my oldest was around 13. So about 4 to 5 years, where she didn't see him at all. Like she would dip, be gone for 6 to 8 months, then say she wanted to, and it would always be around the holidays.
Yeah.
Is where she wanted to, and what it was is what she was doing was she was getting the kids, taking all these pictures, and what would kill me is she would get the kids presents, but she would not allow the kids to take those presents here.
Yep. So they play with their presents for like a day and then not see them again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for real. Like she ended up having multiple kids with this guy, and um, like she would get the toys, presents, clothes, all that, and she would put on Facebook because I would have people. I blocked her. I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to know, but I have people that would be like, "Dude, you need to see this," and would show me where um pretty much she was trying to play Mother of the Year.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, and all these presents blocked, and then she didn't see him for another 9 months.
That's crazy.
She would send a card on birthdays, or maybe even pick them up on a birthday, take them, get them a little whatever, and dip out. Um, and then she wanted to start seeing them as they were teenagers. And what always broke my heart is as they were teenagers, my oldest and my second, my middle child, she blatantly played favoritism on these kids.
Yeah.
Blatantly. Like, I would get my middle child, my girl, and she would be like, "Dad, why does she do this?" And it really hurt my two oldest relationship.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because my middle child was very resentful. Um, she was just angry because here, on my oldest birthday, clockwork.
Yeah.
She would be there. On hers, she maybe got a call.
Right. She's thinking something's wrong with her and like what, why isn't mommy loving me the way she's loving? Yeah. Yeah. I can only imagine what's going through her head.
I had to tell her so many different times and hold her while she cried and sobbed. And, as like now that they're older, they, Dad, they would say, "Dad, I'm sorry, for yelling and screaming. Why, thinking you're," because what she was doing is she was putting the blame on me and
Oh
making the
yeah.
kids think I'm keeping it
Yeah.
from because when she would, it caused drama and chaos. Excuse me, because when she would dip, kids would be like, "What's going on?" Blah blah blah, and they're like, "It's mom being mom." And then when she would try to play Mother of the Year, and come in, and then they're like, she would be like, "Oh no, it's your dad. He's keeping you from me. He doing this. He doing that," and they were so confused. It was like they're seeing me and my wife, um, you know, being parents. I've told my kids, and here's the thing: is God. It was just a godsend because my wife was the mom that
Yeah.
they
Good for her.
deserved. That they got a mom that they actually deserved. Just because she wasn't biologically their mom didn't mean when she stepped up, like, and um we it was something else to see her just do that. She loved them like they were her own, and she still loves them. Like during when I had my back issues and when all that happened, and I had 3 back surgeries, and my kids saw me decline because what ended up happening is I got spinal stenosis and I got bulging discs and deteriorating discs. So the little that little cushion in between is it turned to bone on bone. And so what happened was one day that somehow the disc got herniated and was bulging out, and it was pressing on my spinal cord. I couldn't feel nothing below the waist. Yeah, terrified. Like peed on myself. Just I'm glad I didn't crap on myself. Thank God for that. But yeah, it was, and they saw that and they're like, something's really wrong with dad. And my mom came and got the kids. Um, and they went to the hospital, and then the one time that their mom actually stepped up was during that time.
Yeah.
That the one time that she actually did step up and was there and sort of being a mom, just realizing she had maybe a little bit of a heart. I mean, her heart's smaller than the Grinch, but
I mean, it's so good for you, man, for really stepping up and taking, you know, your kids full time, and then you find out you have this back problem, but you still got to work full time. You still got to provide, and I can only imagine how hard it is.
they work after that. I got placed on FMLA because I couldn't work, and they my my doctor said you need to go ahead and file for disability now because they didn't know if I would be able to walk. I'll never forget my youngest had her birthday while I was in the hospital, and we had to do birthday cake, and we opened her presents while I was in there. That I, I never cried so much in my life after they left that day.
Yeah,
I felt horrible. I felt like the worst dad. Or like I'm in a hospital. I can't even play with my kid right now. I can't. Um, but my kids, they knew, like dad's fine. He'll be okay. Dad's gonna be okay. And I love dad. Yeah, they came and visited as much as they could, and I tried to get them to not see a lot of it. I tried to tell, but they kept wanting to see me, and they're like, "Oh, we want to see dad. We want to make sure he's okay." Those sorts of things. But thank God I had a really good family, and my wife's family, they absolutely love me, and they made the kids, the older kids, that that's their grandchildren. Uh, um, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That grandma and grandpa is them for them. Um, and it was just a blessing to have the people that I have in my life.
that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, at the end of the day, it all worked out. I mean, and it can happen. Even though I went through a lot, and what I went through is not what a lot of guys are going to go through. But even though I had the health problems, I had to fight the system, and you have to grin and bear it and try to smile about it in front of these people. And you can get your kids. You can get custody. You can put her on child support.
It's a rough road, but you did it, and
Oh
you
yeah.
know, it seems like your kids are doing good now. They're
Oh yeah.
appreciative of what you put in.
Oh.
So yeah,
My oldest, it gave me a grandson. He's got it. He's on his own. He's good. And I've told him, like, you need to be careful. You know, like I told him straight up, I don't want what I went through for you to go through it. So you need to be careful. But I know the kid's his because it looks just like him. Like, there's no denying it, you know. If there was any chance, I'd be like, I'll pay for the DNA test.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, my middle child, she's doing her own thing. She's out the house, and they're working. They're doing what they're supposed to do. She's about to start school in the fall. It's what she tells me. And I support it. And then I got my youngest, which is she's still in high school. She's going to graduate next year.
Yeah.
So my two oldest, they've been through a lot. They felt abandonment. They have issues with their mom. But they, at the end of the day, they still love their mom, though.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah, and some of the best advice I could say is, even though you want to talk bad about your kids, do not do it in front of your kids. You know, if they ask about their mom, um, I wouldn't say sugarcoat it, but I would say wait until they're older, where they're able to actually understand what's going on with with it. And the judge, I'll never forget what the judge said. The judge said, "You are one of the few dads that has come through here, gave their all, did everything, never complained." And she said, "I wish you nothing but the best. I wish there was more dads that would, you know,
Fight for the kids. Step up
fight for the
to the
kids."
plate. Yeah.
And that was nice, because I kind of think she automatically thought I was just another guy not taking care of their responsibilities. But no, I raised my kids. My kids I've raised. They're, you know, I don't care what she does. What their biological mom does, I don't care. It's not my problem. She's not my problem. If I will be nice. I will see her, and I won't talk bad. I ain't gonna cause no drama. You know, I will say hi. That's about it during, you know, weddings, births, those sorts of things. Because she might have gave birth to them, but I raised them.
Yeah. And it sounds like they know that. So
Oh, they know that.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Don't let the system beat you down. You want your kids, you go through hell, fire, and brimstone for your kids. And whatever your ex, the baby mama doing, you don't worry about it.
Yeah, and more dads need to, keep the conversation going, talk to other dads that are going through it. Just like hopefully this podcast and this episode reaches dads who are going through something like this, so they can take what you've talked about and hopefully implement it in what they're going through. And maybe it helps them, maybe it doesn't, but that's the whole point. So yeah, but thank you so much, Jay, for sharing your story.
You
Yeah,
have a good
yeah,
one. Thanks, man.
awesome. Thank
Bye.
you.
You can't hold me down. You can't hold me down. You can't hold me down. You can't hold me down.